Okay, Mr. Chairman, you are all set and ready to go.
Thank you. Thank you. And welcome, everybody. A little bit of technical difficulties got us on just a couple minutes late, but we're here and we're ready to go. This is the Public Works Facility and Sustainable Committee budget workshop, and we also have some other business to cover up front. But first, I want to take a moment and acknowledge who we have here on the screen before me. And I will start, I'll just go down the list here. Councilor Carol Anderson Blanks is with us. Town Manager Rick Ledwith. We have Minority Leader Mark is here with us, and Peter Privatera. Councilor Tiffany McGinnis, Director John Phillips, Councilor Deb Pullen, Robert Palmer, Director Robert Palmer. We have Mary Fay, Mayor Sherry Cantor is with us, Catherine Gavini and Patty Lewis are all with us, and welcome everyone, and welcome to those who are watching us on WHCI. So we will go ahead and get started. Call this meeting to order on April 3rd, 2024. And we have a start with our business items. We have approval of minutes. Now, Rick, do these get done separately or do they?
So you would call for a motion to approve the minutes, Mr. Chairman, and a committee member would second, and we would pass them.
I'm sorry, for each month or together? That's what I meant.
Oh, you can do it together.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to make sure there.
Yeah.
All right. So I'd like to call for approval of minutes. Do we have a motion to do so?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Okay. We have approval of the minutes for our last two meetings of January and February. Now we will move on to resolution, and I will turn it over to Rick, and it sounds like Catherine will be talking about it as well.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good evening, everyone. We're pleased to review the resolution before you designating West Hartford as a pollinator-friendly community, which we believe will confirm our commitment to environmental stewardship and conservation. Through the adoption of this resolution and collaborative efforts between the town and our residents and businesses, we can take proactive steps to enhance and preserve pollinator habitats throughout the town. In addition, this resolution will help the town as it moves forward moves towards submitting an application to Sustainable CT for gold certification this summer. As the council knows, we are one of, I believe, 24 communities in the state who are silver certified. And through Catherine Davini's efforts, we are continuing our progress towards applying for gold certification this summer. I do want to, before turning it over to Catherine, acknowledge our Sustainable West Hartford Commission and specifically the Nature-Based Solutions Working Group, which is part of Sustainable West Hartford Commission. And that group is led by Kim Hughes. So I want to thank them for their work in moving this initiative forward. As we all know, this commission has been incredibly busy during their first year as an official commission, and we appreciate all of their efforts and moving our town towards being a more sustainable community. So through you at this point, Mr. Chairman, I will turn it over to Catherine Davini, who can give us a little bit more background on the resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. And Catherine, I can't wait to hear what you have to say.
Great, thanks. I think Jurida is going to be sharing some slides, if that's possible. I just have 3 slides. So Rick mentioned Kim Hughes, one of our commissioners on the Sustainable West Hartford Commission, and she couldn't be here tonight. But if any of you know Kim, you know that she's all about doing the actual work and pushing the town to be more sustainable rather than receiving any credit or recognition herself. So, but on behalf of him and the commission and many other partners that were involved, I just want to thank you all for fitting this into your busy agenda tonight. And I'm just going to share these 3 slides with you. So this first slide, I just want to let you all know that this resolution was truly a collaborative exercise. It was done under the umbrella, like Rick said, of the Sustainable West Hartford Commission and its Nature-Based Solutions Working Group, which includes many of these local organizations, which are very loyal and dedicated and knowledgeable community members. You can see some of their logos on this slide. They crafted the draft resolution with assistance from other towns through the Sustainable Connecticut program. Specifically, Greenwich was one of the big ones we modeled our resolution after. The resolution's been run up and down the flagpole with various rounds of conversations, input, feedback, and approval from Helen Rubino-Turco, our Director of Leisure Services, John Phillips, the Director of Public Works, their staff, as well as Todd Dumay, Town Planner, and Corporation Counsel. Slide 2, please. So now in true Kim Hughes fashion, and this is a little small for you to see, but I'd be remiss if we didn't show you some kind of educational slide like this one. Now, these are all pollinators native to Connecticut. And it's insects like these that are really at the heart of this important resolution. These pollinators are essential. And I don't know if anyone knows, but over 80% of all plants need pollinator services. So protecting these little guys that you see on the screen and protecting and increasing their habitat is the key. And even the little mosquito there, we got to protect him too. Increasing and their habitats is the key to maintaining biodiversity and healthy ecosystems, and even increasing our environmental resiliency in the face of climate change. Slide 3. So you all have a copy of the proposed resolution, so I'm not going to go through this in detail. But I just want to reiterate, we're excited for the town to publicly designate West Hartford as a pollinator-friendly community and to continue working towards that goal with the help of its many willing partners and collaborators. So as Rick said, I think our next step, we're asking for your support in moving this resolution forward to Town Council.
Awesome. Thank you, Catherine. I am personally a fan of this. Anybody who knows me and has seen my front yard knows that it is full of pollinators, pollinator sources. Some find it nice to look at and others find it chaotic, but it suits me and the bees just fine. I think this is a great idea. And yes, it will afford us some opportunities coming down the pipe. And I look forward to seeing those as well. Let's see, does anybody have any questions about this? Share, Mayor Cantor, please.
Thank you, Chair Walters. I appreciate this has been in the works a long time. I know that we said that this kind of came up quickly, but Kim has been working on this a long time. I know Catherine's been working on it a long time. There's been a lot of education, and I would really want to reach out and say thank you to John Phillips and Helen Rubino-Turco for their coordination and support of this, because it's a bit more of a challenge to add this element and incorporate. I didn't say add, incorporate it into all that we do. So I also want to give a shout out to the West Hartford Garden Club, who has been really wonderful in thinking about ideas and places that they can help with this movement and support So it's a lot. It's a real community effort, and I'm just grateful for everybody that we're at this place. And I feel terrible that I'm going to be on a plane coming back from the Final Four and will not be at the council meeting. But I just want to share my support and my thanks to everybody to bring it to that point. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Does anybody, do we have any other questions or comments? No? Okay. All right. Well, I'm excited and looking forward to this on Tuesday to discuss it at our meeting. So to turn it back over to you, Rick, do you have something to add?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we will present the resolution on the Tuesday night meeting, council meeting. We really were pushing to present this resolution in April to celebrate Earth Day, which is, as we all know, in April. And the West Hartford Sustainable West Hartford Commission is working on an Earth Day event as well in April. So this will coincide nicely with that. So definitely through Catherine and the commission and on behalf of us, we appreciate all of your support. So, and Catherine, thank you for squeezing us into your lacrosse schedule this evening and battling the rain to get back here. And looks like you're in my conference room. I hope you're not locked out of your office. I have a key if you need one. But,
I'm all set. Thank you very
thank you
much.
so much. So at this point, Mr. Chairman, we will head to the budget portion of our meeting. And we have both plant and facility services and public works budgets being presented this evening between both departments and under the leadership of John Phillips and Bob Palmer. These departments manage over 2.4 million square feet of buildings between the town and the schools. We have over 217 miles of roads and 300 miles of sidewalks and 170 acres of parks and playgrounds. We have as we know, our ever evolving waste management program that is overseen by Public Works, our parking lot fund, as well as our cemetery fund. And both directors and their teams do an outstanding job of managing all of this infrastructure through both the good weather and the bad weather as we're experiencing right now. So we will begin tonight's budget review with our plant and facility services, and through you, Mr. Chairman, I will turn it over to Mr. Palmer.
All right.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Bob Palmer, Director of Plant and Facility Services. So I'm presenting a budget with a very modest increase this year. Overall, it's a 3.3% increase, and it's mostly due to increasing wage and salaries and a little bit of increase in utility costs. So I'm on page 12-2 of the budget book, if you want to follow along. All right, everybody's there. So if going to page 12-3, if you look at our facility services division, this is the division that provides the basic maintenance and cleaning of the town buildings. So we have a 6% increase in pay in our regular payroll for our full-time employees, and those were negotiated settlements in the contracts this past year. Other noticeable increases are contractual services are going up 3.6%. We continue to see costs escalating still in the from contractors between labor, materials, and their pricing it continues to go up and it's just more expensive. We're also seeing a pretty huge increase in uniforms and laundry, though it's a modest amount of money. It's 26.7. That's reflective of the fact that we've had quite a bit of turnover in our full-time employee staff. We've had 3 new additions in the last year. We're also finally fully staffed with part-time people. So we did bump that up a little bit just because we did have quite a bit of a increase in that line item. So building maintenance again is up a little modest 4.3%. And again, just increased costs overall from suppliers, and buying items is just more expensive. So overall, that presents a 3.3% increase. We're not changing any positions at this point. We still have an unfunded plumbing position, which has been unfunded for several years, and we backfill that with utilizing contractors, which is a little bit more expensive, but it works for us at this point. So any questions on that before I move on to the capital projects division? Barry, you're muted.
Twice today I've done that. Bob, just a quick question. And we've seen this a little bit already, but with Social Security, usually the percentage increases are a little bit closer together with the payroll. What's driving that Social Security up at a higher percentage?
That's a great question. I'm going to ask our finance people to jump in on that.
Thanks for the handoff, Bob. I was going to hand this off to Lisa Newton, but I think it has to do with temporary payroll where some of the part-time employees opted out of Social Security and some are probably opting back in. And it's also increasing because the payroll is increasing as well. But Lisa, do you agree with that?
Yes, Peter, thank you. Yes, that is correct. So it depends on who's on a Social Security alternative, which means we don't pay any Social Security or not. So it can change. It depends on the employee, whether they're contributing to Social Security alternative or regular Social Security.
So there can be some variation even from year to year on that, with
Correct.
people bouncing back and forth. Got it. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Any other questions on that before we jump over to capital projects? All right, so moving on to capital projects, that's on page 12-6. This is a very small and modest budget. This is 2 people. This is my capital projects manager and then an office operations specialist. So it's really salary driven. There's a modest 3.9% increase, and Social Security is in line, so it's 3.8%. And that's really that's it for that division. So we do internal transfers on this department from the capital projects, so it's covered out of the capital projects account actually. So any questions on that? Okay. Moving on to page 12-8. This is the Utility Services Fund. So the Utility Services Fund is a fund that was established in 2007 in order to absorb the losses and gains associated with utilities and to address the volatility. So we budget accordingly. We go through every year. Catherine Devaney does that work. She does a very detailed budget for us and looks at our electricity, natural gas, our water. We have a few buildings that still have fuel oil. So she looks at all of that and then she develops a budget based on that. The utility service, so if we're in most years we run a surplus, we're under budget a little bit, and then what we do is we take that loss or the gain and we amortize that over the next 2 years in order to smooth out the fund and to utilize those funds or to repay back funds if we happen to be over budget. So in this year, we are going to be utilizing fund balances. The town is going to use $95,000 from the fund balance from previous year's surplus, and then the Board of Ed is going to use about $200,000 in order to offset the increase in this year. So you're seeing a slight decrease in the overall cost of utilities because of the use of the fund balance, but in actuality, we're running pretty flat. So we're doing pretty well this year. We're coming in a little bit under budget, and part of that is due to the warm weather. It's also, we've been very aggressive on our HVAC schedules. Now that we're out of COVID and not required to run our buildings as long as we were during COVID 21, 22, and even into 23, we were running the buildings up to 18 hours a day. Now we're back to regular occupancy, and that's making a huge difference in our electrical use, air conditioning, and also heating. So our utility costs have stabilized and come back down. So again, we do energy procurement, you've heard us talk about that before. So electricity costs are going up. I'm sure you're seeing it in your home bills. We're going to experience that shortly too with the town. We're currently at a 7.127, I think, rate, 7.19 cents for the next year, and then we're going to jump up to 9.732 cents per kilowatt hour, which is significant. So in the coming years, you're going to see a little bit of an increase in this. We continue to watch the market and see what it's doing. We have opportunities to go back and renegotiate those deals and to buy out further years at lower prices. But I think the era of 5, 6, 7, 8 cents kilowatt hour per kilowatt hour is gone for now, at least. So we'll pay attention to that, and we'll continue to do energy efficiency projects in order to keep those numbers coming down and to look at our usage too. So we're participating in many different programs to help do that. So Catherine is, as you know, is very energetic and very passionate about this, and so we continue to work on different strategies to do that. So, any questions about the Utility Services Fund?
Through you, Chair, just a quick question. Would you repeat that number for the amortization for the town? Did you say 100?
No, it's $95,000. It's at the bottom of page 12.9. Gives you the
Bottom of
numbers.
page 12.9.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Bob,
There it
Bob, I
is.
think it was 95,000 for emergency management services,
Oh, I'm sorry,
50,000 for the
50,000
town.
for 50,000 for the town. I apologize. So I misread.
Thank you for the clarity.
Are there any other questions for Bob? Counselors,
Mr. Chair, I have a question, if it's okay.
go ahead.
Thank you. Through you. Can you talk a little bit about the solar power purchase agreements that we have? I see that they're detailed out on page 1210, but I'm wondering if we're achieving any savings from using solar, or if you can just tell us a little bit about how that's going.
Sure,
Thanks.
yeah. So we have multiple solar projects on our buildings. We started back in 2009 with our first one on Bristow. And so they're typically a 20-year deal where you negotiate a price for the electricity. So power purchase agreements, we don't own the system. They're owned by a third-party company. And so that, which is nice because we don't have to do the maintenance. We don't have to worry about it. It's all on them. And then we purchase the price, typically at a price below market rate. So most of our PPAs at this point, we're paying 7, 8 cents kilowatt hour. The nice thing about the on-site generated power is you don't pay those transmission costs that are implemented through Eversource. So that's another 12 cents per kilowatt hour about. So we avoid that cost. So we certainly benefit financially from having those systems on our buildings. Again, we don't have to maintain them, which is nice. And then we avoid the Eversource transmission cost as well. So, and we're contributing to the solar projects around the state and helping the state's energy grid. So, does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you. I guess I was sort of hoping that we would see a little bit more savings on this because we do have so much solar going on, and I understand the way the power purchase agreement works because we have that at our own house. And it's nice to see the savings, and I just wasn't sure if we were able to identify that we have savings or if it's just kind of mixed in and therefore harder to identify.
We definitely have savings, and we do own some of them. So Charter Oak, we do own the system. That was part of the building project there. So we fully own that system. So, 100% of that electricity is free to us. So, and then we own some smaller demo systems on some of the other buildings, but that's the model we've utilized. So.
Thank you.
Is there a number that exists on the savings?
Catherine can certainly calculate that out pretty easily based on the kilowatt hour.
Yeah, because I imagine even the 12 cents in the distribution fee adds up pretty quickly.
It does. It is pretty significant. So.
Minority Leader Sedanowicz, did you still have a question?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Bob, I've been around long enough where I remember, the return on investment on LED was going to take place. And, I know we bought some very expensive lights and they were going to take, I forgot how many years it was, but did we kind of get sidelined or those significant savings? Because we're looking at about $105,000 in electricity, which is not insignificant. But I thought the numbers were much greater back in the day. I think upwards to $200,000+ in a very quick time. Is that just because of increases, like as you already mentioned, of the electricity prices and distribution and such?
Yeah, all those savings that we went down from 21 million kilowatt hours to about 16 million when we did those LED lighting. So we dropped about 5 million kilowatt hours by doing that townwide project between the town and the board. So we saw really great savings then. And again, when we had cheaper electricity and also the distribution transmission costs from Eversource were lower. Right now, the majority of our increases that you're seeing in electricity is due to Eversource's distribution costs going up. So, and we're all subject to that. There's not much we can do about that based on the way the system is set up right now.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, does anybody, I'm looking around to see if there's any raised hands. Are there any other questions for Bob? Okay. And I wasn't sure if you were all set there, Bob, so
No, I think I'm gonna go into the capital stuff,
Right.
if that's okay with you.
Yep, go
Mr.
ahead.
Chair. Thank you. All right, so I'm gonna switch over to the capital improvement program. And I'll begin, so if everybody's going to your capital book, you're on page 3-1, which is year one. And I'll start with town building improvements. And I'll let Mr. Phillips talk about the garages and his Material Solutions Center modernization. For this year, so typically we have the town building improvement fund account, which is a general fund that we utilize for maintaining town buildings. So various types of projects come out of that. We use it for various types of things, but a lot of it is just updating the building. So if we do new HVAC or new boilers or air handlers, those types of items, but it also covers things such as renovations of offices and other improvements to the buildings, so that it's kind of a general catch-all type of account. The major types of projects we're looking at for this with this fiscal money is we're looking at restroom modernization and accessibility improvements at Town Hall. We're doing office renovations. Currently, we're working on engineering that was improved in last year's budget. We'll be looking at our social work offices in Town Hall in the next year, looking to rearrange those and upgrade those and make those more efficient. We continue to allocate funds out for fire stations with this money for general improvements in those areas. And some other smaller projects. So, but really, the other major one is the restroom modernization and accessibility for Town Hall. So we're looking at that. That's already in design, but we will be executing that project with funds from this fiscal year. Those are the major types of projects that we're looking at from the town building improvement fund. The police department has a line item this year for $1.2 million. Now, again, that's going to be for various improvements over there. Some office reconfiguration, modernization of offices. If you've been through the police department, you know that it's really it's 3 different buildings from different ages. One is 1903, the other is from the 1950s, and then the other one is from 2006. So we're really focusing on the older part of the building at this point. We've done several prior renovations where we haven't gotten to different types of areas. Some of the detective areas, some of the lab spaces that they utilize need some addressing, and then there's some general updates that the building needs as well. So that's what that those funds are going to go for. Any questions on that, on those two, on the town building improvements? Okay. Would you like me to talk about the education one as well?
Yeah, that would be great, Bob. If you could touch on the elementary school air quality program, which
Yeah. Right.
the community's been patiently waiting for over the last couple of years. We're
Right.
making some progress there. So thank you.
Yeah. So we are in year 3 of a 15-year program for elementary school air improvements. So as you might recall, there's 7 of our elementaries lack modern fresh air systems and or air conditioning. Parts of the buildings do have air conditioning, but they generally, the ventilation systems are minimal to nothing. A lot of them, it's just the leaky window systems, which were designed to be that way, provide the fresh air in classrooms. So we're working on that. We're in year 3 of the funding. We have bid and awarded the Duffy project, and that's actually, we're going to be starting some enabling work next week during the break. Actually, on Saturday, we're going to start some enabling work at Duffy in order to get a jump on the summer construction. So it will take us 2 years to get through Duffy, 2 summers really. And it includes replacement of the windows. It also includes putting in fresh air throughout the building, updating some of the older systems that are there in such areas as the auditorium, and then adding air conditioning throughout the entire building as well. So, and replacing the windows, which is a big one there. So it's a big project. That's about $8 million for that project. And then the next one that's coming up is Webster Hill. It's already been designed. We are currently in a waiting phase with the state school construction grant folks, just waiting on that to get through the process. We have both an HVAC grant that we're waiting to hear on and a Windows grant. So we're hoping to hear from them in the next few months on that, and then we'll get that out to bid and hopefully get into construction next summer. So next summer we would be finishing up Duffy and at the same time beginning Webster Hill. After that, our next building will be Bugby, and we'll start that design process shortly and begin that hopefully in the summer of 2026. And those are typically going to take 2 summers to complete at each building, just because of the limited opportunity to get in there and to work without students in the building. So we will be able to at Duffy take some classrooms offline and kind of do some work during the school year, during the second shift, when the kids are not in the building. We don't think we're going to have to do that at Webster Hill. I think we'll have enough time in the summers in order to get that done. But we'll know more as we get to closer to the construction of that. So that's our current plan for the next several years on that. We'll continue to work away at it, but it'll make a huge difference in the learning environment. And it makes those buildings much more comfortable than they've been for all their lives. So. Okay, and then I think the only other, no, I think we're good at that. That's all I had for capital projects at this point. Unless I go to program year 2, excuse me, I'm sorry. I'm going to move over to program year 2, which is on page 4-1. Again, very similar programs. The one major difference for town building improvements, that is the first year of the Elmwood Community Center. We're going to allocate $5 million, and that's really to enable the construction process to begin. So it's hiring the construction manager, it's hiring other various consultants, what we call pre-construction. So soils engineers and testing and those types of things in order to help the design get completed and also get the project ready to bid, and that would be in the following year. Other than that, things are pretty status quo as far as any of the other projects there. Happy to answer any questions on any of that.
Don't see any raised hands. Are there any questions for Bob? Well, it looks like you've you've hit all the points and there are no more questions. Thank you very much, Bob.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for, it's a good day when it's under 4%, it seems like. So with that, Rick, I think we're ready to move on to Mr. Phillips.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. We will turn it through you over to John Phillips, our Director of Public Works. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you very much. John Phillips, Director of Public Works. So I'd like to start by, first of all, obviously thanking those who helped contribute to the budget preparation process for Public Works. Obviously, Todd Matt, our Business Operations Manager, is instrumental to really bringing in all of our operating divisions' needs, wants, and necessities into a fiscal budget. The management team who contribute to the needs, wants, and necessities, and also Brooke Nelson, who is our parking operations manager, but she also takes on the responsibility of managing two distinct enterprise budgets that are within the Public Works operation. For the sake of probably some council members who may be just still getting familiar with Public Works, the public who may be watching this evening, or the public who may tune in at a later date to learn about both facilities budget and our budget. I just give a little background on Public Works. And we have a mission statement that I think is carried out from everybody, top to bottom and bottom to top. It's what we live by. Public Works is committed to providing our customers and residents and businesses of West Hartford the safest and most effective and timely delivery of maintenance services by applying best practices, sound planning, and just true honest stewardship of public funds. And again, I think that's a billboard that we have here in one of our workrooms, and I really believe that our entire workforce tries to strive to meet that mission day in and day out. Some recent achievements from last fiscal year, primarily, Public Works manages multiple aspects of severe weather activities for things such like snow and ice control, road closures, whether it be traffic road closures for emergencies, or assisting Eversource with clearing debris from town's transportation system and all public spaces. Last fiscal year, we completed 8,268 work orders across all operating divisions. Notably, within those work orders, we replaced 250 catch basins for capital improvement projects, plus maintained an additional 605 basins to meet DEP MS4 requirements. And it's the stormwater management requirements there. Our tree replacement program included over 50 trees added throughout all town parks and our cemetery grounds. This past year, as you well know, we implemented a food, scrap, and waste reduction challenge pilot program in the Morley School District, primarily to measure our waste output and support the town's environmental goals. And parking services supported outside dining, the center business district in general, restaurant curbside pickup operations, public space housekeeping, and the ever-growing community events in the central town business district. We look forward to our fiscal year 25 with some goals. Primarily, our objective is to deliver timely maintenance services to the town's transportation infrastructure, our parks, our athletic fields, common spaces, parking facilities essential to supporting a thriving business district, and the smooth operation of our cemeteries. We'll continue to maintain the town fire and police fleets and apparatuses to maximize vehicle and equipment uptime for critical operations. We hope to implement electric vehicle service equipment systems, EVSEs, those are electric charging stations, in strategic areas of town. Utilizing CIP funds, we look to build a comprehensive material solution center to service residents and the support of the town's waste reduction, diversion, and recycling goals. And we hope to implement a fuel supply station here at the DPW yard to support our emergency management strategies and objectives and achieve operational efficiencies. Overall, Public Works has 6 budget categories, divisions, if you would, and 2 enterprise funds within the overall Public Works operation. Administrative management, contractual services, which is primarily waste management, street maintenance, fleet maintenance, traffic safety control, grounds maintenance, and our 2 enterprise funds, municipal parking services, and the cemetery management operations. And again, the enterprise funds do not draw revenues or operating funds from the general fund. They're self-sustained by revenues they achieve from their operations. So key budget data points for Public Works' budget. Public Works is requesting $14,172,068. It's basically 4% of the overall town budget. There are two critical operational areas of the Public Works budget, and it breaks out into the waste management budget of $5,455,813, or about 38.5% of our budget. DPW operations, less waste management, is $8,716,255, or 61.5% of our overall budget request. If you take away the waste management piece, our overall operational budget for just Public Works operations is only 2.5% of the overall Public Works budget. Very, very modest operating expenses for a town this size and comprehensive of services. Overall, our request is an increase of 4.8% increase, or $648,900. Really, two drivers that drive that number. We have $270,644 attributed to salaries, benefits, things like contractual settlements, merit increases, benefits, and minimum wage adjustments we've had to make going into this next fiscal year. $358,265 are aligned directly to our operating expenses, and three real key categories there that drive those expenses, obviously, in waste material management for waste collection costs, yard waste and recycling processing fees. Verifying with all of our vendors, we're seeing about an average 5% increase across all material, parts, and supply line items. And obviously, all the work we do requires minor equipment, and we're seeing expenses related to minor equipment to support all of our work activities across all divisions. In this proposed budget, we are also asking for a recycling center residential permit fee increase. We're proposing a $20 permit fee for passenger vehicles and a $50 permit fee for trucks. The permit fees have not been adjusted in 10 years, so it's well overdue to make this adjustment. And really, the drivers associated to this fee increase really goes to the processing costs of the materials that we receive there, above and beyond what we can process for free, and the overall operation and management of the facility, which is not managed or operated by town employees. It's a subcontract of our waste management contract with Paynes Incorporated. Moving into our enterprise budget, parking services. Again, parking services, their operating expenses are primarily paid through revenues that earns through the services they provide and the inventory spaces they have. We're hoping or anticipating a 3% increase in revenues in the municipal parking fund, and that equals about $2,468,336. Our operating expenses, we do expect to go up slightly at 2.7%. For total operating expenses of $3,000,067. Parking fund is also supported by the Special Development District Tax. And if we have questions specific to that, I'll have to refer to Peter Privatera and his team and how the overall municipal parking budget is balanced out and viewed through that tax service and paying down debt services and other operating costs. Again, I talked about the municipal parking revenue sources because it does not receive tax dollars to support it for direct operating expenses. We really rely on the pay to park inventory. We have about 2,614 spaces across 7 or 8 facilities, the garages, surface parking lots, and our on-street spaces. Our on-street spaces are actually the largest by percentage revenue generator for the fund. Our on-street spaces generate 40% of all revenues for the municipal parking fund. 24% in both categories of garage and lots, and an additional 12% come from permit fees to make up the total allotment of where our revenue sources come from for the parking lot fund. Again, very finite resource there. to support a very robust and busy parking service operation. Our second enterprise fund is the cemetery management and operations. We anticipate revenues this year of $576,000, anticipating, going off just year-to-year averages. Our operating expenses, there is an increase there. It shows up in the budget as 55% or $786,707. And primarily that's a full year expenditures of 2 grounds maintainers are added last fiscal year. And it's the full year's allocations of all their wages, associated wages, cost of living, and all their benefits. This was a transition from outsourcing our contractual work like lawn mowing and other types of maintenance activities in the cemeteries. But dollar for dollar on the just labor side, we're paying the same amount for 19 weeks worth of work that we can generate 52 weeks of work out of those 2 employees. So it's a net benefit to the entire operation. There is a revenue shortfall with revenues and operating expenses, and that will be covered by the cemetery's reserve fund of $210,707. Again, like parking, the cemetery has an inventory it manages and generates its revenues for operating expenses. Our available to date lots, we have 161 lots that will host flush markers, 115 lots that will host monument markers. And again, all revenues primarily generated from plot sales. We receive some minor revenues from services, but a lot of the services that we offer, like specific historical bushes to be trimmed, et cetera, or power washing markers, it just isn't the customers of the cemetery don't call on those services too often. So primarily all of our revenues for cemetery operations do come from plot sales. We estimate about 5 years of inventory remaining in our current cemetery inventory. And lastly, Public Works uses capital improvement and CNRE funds for various projects and equipment replacement programs. And just to highlight for our year 1 requests for this year is our Material Solutions Center that we've been talking about for a while, but things are moving along in that. It's $1.75 million. And again, this facility is to make facility improvements and improve our ability to handle more materials and increase our abilities to divert and recycle materials, supporting the town's environmental initiatives. We looked to add a fuel station in our DPWR, budgeted for $1 million, and this helps support operational efficiencies as well as our emergency management goals. Currently, we use a credit card system where our trucks in the worst of conditions have to utilize local Cumberland Farms or Shell stations. It's a bad mix for us. Plus, we aren't able to capitalize on bulk price purchases to reduce our cost of fuels on the amount of fuel we can burn through in either emergency operations or just day-to-day operations. Rolling stock, we're requesting $870,000, and that's to replace 2 large trucks with all snow and ice control accessories. We support 26 trucks with snow and ice control accessories. It's important we keep up with replacing these trucks because obviously the number that we have, and they will get old quick and outdated, and then that affects their uptime and their availability during the times we need them most. Within that rolling stock line item, we're also requesting a non-CDL waste collection truck. Picture, if you would, just a mini packer garbage truck, and that truck will be applied to all of our parks and some of our public space trash receptacles out in the public areas. And obviously in that area, we're growing and adding trash cans all over. So it's time to be more efficient and more ergonomically correct with our employees who have to handle that waste and give them the proper equipment to collect that waste. Miscellaneous equipment coming from CNRE funds of $264,000. And that line item is replacing equipment that's not quite capital equipment, but it's certainly not minor equipment either. Equipment that probably won't last 10 years, but still can cost anywhere between $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, and $30,000 per purchase. But they're highly used equipment and applied to all operations across all divisions. We're replacing only 1 medium truck this year, a landscaper style truck, and that's using CNRE funds for $78,000. We have a request in there for $115,000 for a salt brine system. This will be an early entry program, if you would, a startup of getting us into the brine business. Many municipalities have already moved this way. State DOTs have moved this way. And in general, the snow and ice control industry is moving into the salt brine system. It really just applies the same effectiveness of that granular salt does, but in a diluted fashion. So it's more cost effective, a little bit less corrosive in one sense, because you're not putting the higher volumes of material down as you do with granular. And you can be more strategic with your applications and get onto areas like sidewalk spaces, parking lots. So that small money won't pay for the entire program, but it'll start introductory level equipment to start us on a future of salt brine equipment. Plus, we believe, and we looking down, in our trying to envision what happens in the future, we think salt brining and more efficient use of salts would become a legislative issue. So this is a line item that supports that effort. And Aisha Memorial Garage restoration work. The garages have reached a lifespan time where it's time to start looking at major structural components of the garages and start maintaining them. So that line item is $750,000. And for our first year restoration projects, we'll be focusing on waterproofing membranes and fireproofing pieces in our basements of our garages, as well as other components on our T-spans and concrete work. And that'll be a project that will run year over year, probably for the next 10 years, as we get more involved in concrete restoration work on the garages. And again, that's just related to lifespan maintenance of the parking garages. So in general, that's the overall Public Works budget, as well as some statements from me. And again, thanks to the team that helped me build it. I'll be happy to answer any specific questions or get deeper on the budget as any council member sees fit.
Great, thank you, John. Looking through the budget, I've looked through it a few times, and I do appreciate the fact that this is mostly driven by personnel costs. And it's tough because it's unfortunately something we have to pay people, and that's fortunate, but unfortunate that it is such a big driver of this particular budget. I have a question regarding the fee structure. If you go online, it shows our fee structure being broken up into like 4 different size vehicles. You mentioned that just 2. So are we streamlining that to just passenger vehicles and trucks? Or, as it says here online, passenger vehicles and vans with trailer, pickup trucks? It's got 4 different ones. And how does that compare to similar municipalities around us?
I'll answer the question on the vehicle breakout. So there'll be a modest increase on the trailers, but it's associated with the trucks. I just highlighted the 2 primary vehicles that visit the site. A passenger vehicle is a passenger vehicle, right? They can only bring so much volume, and they typically will bring in the recyclables, the programs that have no cost impact on the operations of the recycling facility. Our trucks, though, they can bring in yard waste, and yard waste is one of our most expensive drivers of managing the facility. We get tons of volumes, well over 3,500 tons a year come through the facility just from residential drop-off. And if you recall, last year we stopped the commercial intake. Just residents can bring in that much volume. So yard waste, when you define the term yard waste, there's really 2 definitions of yard waste, and depending on who you talk to, there's probably only one, but most residents will say yard waste is yard waste. But Public Works for operations wide, yard waste at the curb that we collect at a curb on a bi-weekly basis is that week over week yard waste that you generate from general weeding, lawn care, your gardening, maybe trimming a bush back, trimming up your rose bushes or any ornamentals that you may take care of from a week to week yard maintenance perspective. What we receive down at the transfer station or the residential recycling center is when families or households get into maybe some yard renovation work, total redos of shrubberies and ornamentals in their front yard. I wish I could show you pictures of just but we have pictures of trucks with complete full loads of close to heavy timber type wood of yew bushes and, and doing a lot of extensive landscape work to their properties. We don't charge for that material. We charge by the permit and the usage. Certainly a future recommendation, we may have to move towards charging it because the cost of processing that material is escalating. But right now we're okay. We think we're comfortable with just making a modification to the permit fee structure. Great questions from surrounding communities. Avon charges $60 flat rate. Doesn't matter whether it's a truck or car for use of their facilities. Newington it doesn't charge a residence on a sticker per basis, but they charge for each item you bring in. So it varies like that. Glastonbury is the same way. They charge for a residential permit and charge for additional material that you bring in. So it varies like that. So we feel we're still in a good space, offering a great service at a really a small fee, a modest fee to continue those services. And overall, we only see about 10% of our residents actually get a permit. So general utilization is very small. And so it's really, it's a user fee, basically. I hope that answers your question, Chairman.
No, absolutely. It does answer my question, and thank you. I just wanted to get an idea if it was, if the fee could use further adjustment, but it sounds like maybe that's not really required. I'll turn it over to other folks here. Are there any other questions for John? Councilor Blanks.
I don't have any questions, but I did just want to comment to both John and Bob for your thoughtfulness and all the work that you and your team put together in presenting this budget to us this evening. It's clear that it's a collaborative effort, and you work together to present this budget, keeping in mind the climate that we're in and being mindful of what's reasonable in terms of our services and taxes for our residents and business owners in town. So I just wanted to offer my thanks and appreciation for doing that, because I know that's difficult, especially you're the leader, but you're also working with a team and a staff. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you, Carol.
Councilor Zdanowicz, did you have any questions or?
No, I'm good at this time. Thank you.
Are there any other questions that folks might have? Well, I personally also am thankful to both of you, John and Bob. As I know that there were some sacrifices made in this budget that you presented, and that not everything that could have been there is there, and that was in mind of trying to keep the budget in kind of lean and respecting the position that we're all in here. So I do have admiration for that, and definitely the collaborative process that you guys are working with. I'm looking around. I don't see any hands up. I don't see any other questions. I guess this is last opportunity to ask John a question, and if not, I can turn it back to, I think, Rick.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, everybody. And Mr. Chairman, I appreciate your comments regarding the sacrifices that John and Bob made with their budgets, particularly actually both, because I know Bob can use some additional support in our plumber type positions that he's been patiently requesting for some time now, as we continue to outsource that. And then John, John was a critical part of our Vision Zero task force, and as the council knows, as we undertake a tremendous amount of projects as we move into the next year, John had requested additional positions within his organization to support Vision Zero and support the construction And I, based on the balance and the needs of our community and where our mill rate is, John understood what we needed to do to balance those needs. And I know Public Works will be there to support us as we move through the next year with his present staffing, knowing that in the event that we need to look at something more directly and specifically once we get into the fiscal year, we will do so. So I do appreciate both directors and their willingness to work together to ensure that we're being as fiscally responsible as possible to our residents, and we'll continue to do that. So I appreciate those comments, and we appreciate everyone's time tonight, and we look forward to working with all of you over the next couple of weeks as we approach April 24th, and we'll have a number of things to discuss as we work on reducing our budget before the 24th. So thank you. Happy to answer any questions that the council may have as well.
Mayor, did you have something? Okay.
No, thank you very much. I'm grateful for the leadership and all of your input. Thank you.
Great. Okay, well, looking at the agenda.
That was it for this evening, Mr. Chairman.
Communications and new business, right? So I think we're probably pretty well set. And I think at, what time is it? 7:04. Wow. We can go ahead and call for an adjournment. I think.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
So moved. Do we have a motion? We have a motion. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for the presentation tonight. Have a good rest of the evening.
Thanks, everyone.
Great night, everybody.
Good night.